Hello and welcome to Cemetery Stories Capital Connections Edition. I'm your host, Capital Eric, and I'm a tour guide here at Sacramento Historic City Cemetery, as well as the State Capitol Museum, a unit of California State Parks, just up the road. And today I'd like to tell you an account of one of our permanent residents here at the cemetery, someone who is connected in life or in death with the state capitol. Let's go! Come on. A warning. Today's cemetery story deals with the themes of depression and suicide. At 30 minutes past midnight on the 3rd of May, 1901, a single pistol shot rang out, emanating from Capitol Park near the corner of 12th and N Streets. Special Officer John Campbell and Dr. J.D. Powell, a dentist, and City Detective John Fitzgerald investigated and soon discovered the form of a dying man, still holding a .38 caliber Smith & Wesson pistol in his right hand. In the electric light, the men recognized the body as that of B.M. Lelong, the Secretary of the State Board of Horticulture, who was widely regarded as an expert in the fruit industry, especially citrus, being called a student in the affairs of the orange. A suicide note was found in a pocket. The ink was fresh and written on State Board of Horticulture letterhead, indicating that he probably had composed it in his office inside the Capitol shortly before committing suicide. He was buried here in Historic City Cemetery in the state plot next to State Librarian William Dana Perkins and a number of other state officials. The dead man was born into horticulture. His father was a fruit grower in France and established the Lelong orchard in Southern California. His son followed in his footsteps. The younger Lelong was appointed a member of the State Board of Horticulture in 1886 by Governor Stoneman, and the next year he was named the Secretary of the Board, a position he held until his death. During those 14 years, he served under 6 governors from both parties, a sign of bipartisan respect. As the Secretary, he researched and wrote numerous pamphlets, reports, and other publications, with his A Treatise on Citrus Culture in California considered a textbook for horticulturalists. Lelong was a fair-minded secretary, encouraging the upstart fruit industry in Northern California, despite his strong connections with the long-established industry in the Southland. He was highly regarded and his advice widely sought. He was well respected, both professionally and personally. So what was it that drove Lelong to this desperate act? A few days after Lelong's death, the San Francisco Call ran an article that might explain it. Lelong was visiting San Francisco and fell and struck his head against the pavement. Friends took him to a doctor who pronounced his injuries serious. After Lelong's suicide, those who knew him said that he had not been quite himself recently and had been suffering from melancholia, what depression was called in those days. His wife said that he had been unable to sleep. Others pointed out that they had seen him wandering about late at night in a dazed condition. So if a head injury from a fall caused his depression, what was it that caused Lelong's fall? The cause of the fall that eventually fatally brought down B.M. Lelong, the strong and tireless proponent of the fledgling citrus industry in Northern California, the authority behind the highly regarded volume, A Treatise on Citrus Culture in California, the student in the affairs of the orange, was none other than a slip on an orange peel. It is certain that B.M. Lelong would have been familiar with the fact that oranges provide plenty of what would soon come to be known as vitamin C, but very little iron. But in his case, plenty of iron E. Well, that's been another edition of Cemetery Stories Capital Connections Edition. I'm your host, Capital Eric. It's been my pleasure telling you a little bit about the cemetery and the state capitol. Now, unfortunately, for the duration, the California State Capitol, a unit of California State Parks, is closed to the public, but the cemetery remains open for a stroll and some quiet contemplation. Keep up the social distancing, wash your hands, because it is better to be 6 feet apart than 6 feet under. Hope you enjoyed this episode. Goodbye.